Sports Snippets, Dennis Sullivan. How in the world are you doing? It is Tuesday the 9th of March. I'm here to talk to you about the league leaders in the NBA as we are now officially getting ready to start that second half of the season that we're looking forward to. I want to talk about briefly the leaders in points, rebounds, all the big categories, assists, blocks, and I'm running out of fingers here. Number 5, steals. And if you do like the content of this particular video, go right ahead, hit that like button. In addition, feel free to subscribe to my channel. We got plenty to talk about in the months to come, not just in basketball, but in other sports as well. So go ahead and subscribe. Let's get into it, guys. We got the Snippets board right here. We're ready to go. NBA getting ready, kicking off that second half of the season. But before we do, we have to honor those who are league leaders in certain categories and have just elevated their game to the next level. So let's get started, guys. I want to start right off where we probably should, and that is in the points scored category, also known as points per game category. You have Mr. Bradley Beal leading the NBA with an extremely impressive 32.9 points per game, or basically 33 points per game, which is a little bit more than 2.5 points per game higher than the number 2 scorer in the league thus far, Joel Embiid, at 30.2. Beal, I mean, he doesn't play for a good team. He plays for Washington. I mean, this is a team that's been struggling for a couple of years now, guys. I mean, there's no secret there. But he's, and looking it up, the guy shoots over 90% from the free throw line. I also checked his shooting percentage, did a little double check on that. He's a little over 48% from the field. Pretty impressive when you consider that he hits a lot of shots from the perimeter. He's almost like a combo type style. He's a scorer. He's a scorer, guys. He scores from everywhere, hitting almost, or actually just over 48% of his shots. Very impressive to me. You have Embiid number 2 as mentioned. Damian Lillard checking in 3rd in the NBA in scoring as of this moment, or as of this video, 29.8 points a game. Stephen Curry, Curry, no surprise there. Golden State Warriors, 29.7. I mean, he's right there. Arguably the greatest shooter of all time. When you talk about perimeter shooting and three-point shooting, Curry is awesome. Awesome. Just a great shooter. And Giannis, he's having another MVP type season. He's averaging an even 29 points a game for the Milwaukee Bucks, who are once again one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Yes, there's going to be pressure on the Milwaukee Bucks in this year's playoffs after the last 2 seasons of pretty much dominating the Eastern Conference in the regular season, only to fall short in the playoffs and not make it to the finals in either of the last 2 seasons. So that's where you have the main scoring, guys. But it is Mr. Beal from Washington leading the way in the rebound category. A guy we used to see playing for the Houston Rockets. But he does not do that anymore because he's now an Atlanta Hawk, Mr. Clint Capella. Look at that number, averaging over at 14.2 rebounds a game. He's dominating the boards, guys. Over 14 rebounds a game. He is a rebounding machine, is this guy. Playing for an Atlanta Hawk team who's kind of up and coming. You got Trae Young's a big star for that team. The Hawks, they're right on the outside looking in for a possible playoff spot. Obviously, the second half of the season will determine all of that. But Clint Capella leading the league in rebounding. After him, the other top 5, you have Rudy Gobert. Guys, he's my guy. When it comes to inside, just intangibles. If I'm starting a team right now and I need a guy in the middle, Rudy Gobert, that's my guy. 13.1 rebounds per game, Rounding out the top 5, you have Enes Kanter. Great surprise here, Portland Trailblazers. Stepping his game up in 2021, 11.9 rebounds per game. Giannis, he's on the top 5 in rebounds as well as scoring. He's at 11.7. And arguably one of the most underrated players in the entire NBA, Nikola Vucevic from the Orlando Magic, 11.6 rebounds per contest. He's been playing in Orlando for quite some time. He's been putting up solid numbers for quite some time. An inside post type player, very effective, very consistent player, Nikola Vucevic. Moving on to assists. Well, there's a familiar name. James Harden. We used to see him up over here where Bradley Beal was for the last few years. Well, what happened? James Harden changes addresses, right? So next up in our next category is assists, by the way, guys. Let's talk a little bit about assists. He goes from the Houston Rockets, goes to Brooklyn now to play for the Nets. And what does he do? Now, he always was a good playmaker in terms of assists, facilitating, getting others involved. He is a good passer. We've always known this about James Harden. He's not just scoring. I mean, when he was in Houston, though, he was asked to score a lot of points, and he did score a lot of points, leading the league. And I mean, he was some scorer. Now the scoring's been toned down in Brooklyn, as of course you have others that can share that responsibility. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. Where does that leave Harden? Well, he's still scoring a pretty good amount of points, right? He's still in the mid-20s in his points per game. But now he leads the entire league in assists per game, 11.1. James Harden playing a little bit more of a facilitator, setup, playmaking type role in Brooklyn for the Nets, who currently hold on to the second best record in the Eastern Conference. After Mr. James Harden, you have Russell Westbrook, who's always in the top 5 in assists, 9.8. You got Trae Young, as I mentioned earlier, 9.4. Trae Young's a good young player. Luka Doncic, I mean, Luka is all over the place in statistics. The guy averages almost a triple-double. He's coming in at 9 assists a game. Chris Paul at 8.8. Can't say enough good things about Chris Paul. Now a Phoenix Sun. And look at that team with the second best record in the Western Conference. Chris Paul is a big part of it. Don't think that he's not for even a split second. Chris Paul is a big reason why the Phoenix Suns have had a really nice first half to this season. Moving right on, we got block shots, guys. Block shots. Now, Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers, he leads the league. Now, guys, Miles Turner in block shots, look at that number. I mean, I had to pause almost for a second. I almost couldn't get words out when I'm looking at 3.4. Are you kidding me? 3.4 blocks a game is absolutely incredible, guys. 3.4 blocks a game for Miles Turner, leading the entire, he better lead the entire NBA with that stat. Rudy Gobert, is number 2 at 2.7 blocks a game. So you got Gobert number 2 in rebounds in the entire NBA, and he's number 2 in blocks in the entire NBA, guys. I'm telling you right now. I mean, and you look at the Utah Jazz with the best record in the entire NBA, 27-9, the only team with under 10 losses in the entire NBA. Rudy Gobert, don't even think for a second. Rudy Gobert is a huge part. I know he only scores about 14 or so points a game. He's a huge part of that team. I think he's an MVP candidate, believe it or not, because you look at just his impact on the game. He's a monster in the middle. He's a tremendous inside force, is Rudy Gobert. Clint Capella, okay, number 1 in rebounds, also happens to be number 3 in block shots. So you got Gobert and Capella kind of battling it out. Yeah, statistically that is, in rebounds and block shots. Capella checking in a little over 2.2. Then you have Nerlens Noel from the New York Knicks, blocking 2 shots a game, not to be overlooked. Knicks are having a pretty nice first half of the season. They had a record of right at about 500. They are in the mix as far as the Eastern Conference playoffs as a potential playoff team. And rounding out the top 5 in block shots, you have Butcher from the Toronto Raptors, Chris Butcher. He is doing a good job. He's at 1.9 blocks a game. As you recall, they had Valanciunas for many years. That you had Gasol in Toronto, Marc Gasol. So the point I'm getting at here is the Toronto Raptors are used to having a very good center, a good solid guy in the middle. And it looks like Butcher's definitely filling that void. I mean, he's having a nice year, blocking about 2 shots per game for the Toronto Raptors. Last but not least, we have the category of steals. Here's a guy that doesn't score a lot of points, but guys, every now and then you'll see me drop a little fantasy basketball mention like that. Picked him up. T.J. McConnell, I picked up. He's not a big scorer. Scores around 7 points a game. He doesn't score a lot of points. His assists are good. Assists are really good. He's about 7 assists. Scoring's under double figures. Check that. It may not be 7. It might be a little higher. Well, but it's still. He has not been a big scorer. His assists are really good, and he leads the NBA right now with 2 steals per game. 2 steals per game. T.J. McConnell. Drew Holiday, number 2 in steals in the NBA. Don't forget, he is on the Milwaukee Bucks now. He's having a huge impact for Milwaukee. Checking in with 1.88 steals a game. Fred VanVleet playing a big role in Toronto for the Raptors. 1.7 steals a game. 4th in the league is Robert Covington from Portland. Portland Trailblazers. Real nice all-around type player is Robert Covington. He's going to give you a little bit of this. He's going to give you a little bit of that. He's a nice, well-rounded, versatile player is Robert Covington. Then at 5th place, you got a tie for steals between the Joker. You got a bunch of guys in there. Jokic from Denver Nuggets, Ben Simmons, Murray from San Antonio, and LaMelo Ball all have 1.6 steals per game. And a name that we're all familiar with, Kawhi Leonard, is at 1.5 steals per game. And then there's like a ton of guys at like 1.4, 1.3, like that. So that's the discussion, guys. These are your league leaders right now, halfway point NBA season 2021. Let me know what you think. Leave me some comments below. We will talk again soon. I really hope you like this particular exercise, if you will, as we went through the league leaders in the NBA, and not just went through them, I had a little discussion about that, and we talked a little bit about that. So leave me a comment. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.